Hey kids, it's Alabama Annie out here in the backyard at the old home place sitting next to the old garage. And, we had a pretty good storm around here last night. I think they had a little straight line wind or a tornado down near Birmingham. And the wind blew a little here, but not too much. But it reminded me of a short story that I have in this series called News of the Odd and Unusual, available on Kindle. Um, and it's a story that took place in a cemetery near here. Now, I was going to go up to the old Bethany Cemetery today to tell this story, but it's just too wet. Everything is kind of soggy. So I found the driest spot I could get to be outdoors, and I'm going to tell you the story from here. It took place back in the 1920s. And there were two brothers and a friend of theirs who were tired of living hard scrabble, hand to mouth sort of thing, and so they took it upon themselves to rob a few local businesses. And it was going all right until they decided to rob one of the little mercantiles near where they lived. And the owner of that store recognized one of them and turned them in. And the sheriff came to arrest them and took them to the county jail. And there they remained for quite a while until the old judge, who had seen them before on various just petty theft, this and that, stealing chickens, doing this, doing that. He was tired of it. So when he got his hands on them, he said, I'm going to sentence the three of you to hard labor for 5 years, right here. And so he did. But he had known those boys all of their lives. And he was kind of fond of two of them especially. And I think they had been sharecroppers on his family's land. And so he began to, make them trustees of a sort, giving them jobs, mainly on his farm, which was a big working farm up between here and Collinsville, Alabama. And it had cattle and chickens, goats and pigs and gardens and all this, and baling hay and doing this and that. So he kept them busy. They worked a lot for him. And like I said, he was fond of them. And sometimes, one of them was married. Sometimes on Sundays, they had to attend church every Sunday. And so on Sundays, after they all attended church, he would invite the three of them back to his home. And they would sit down for Sunday dinner with the rest of his family and his crew. And this went on for years. And they would even invite the wife of the one who was married to come and eat with them. And so it was a good relationship, and they were serving their time, and things were going well. But the old judge was getting on up in years, and he passed away suddenly, grew really ill, and then he passed away. And this just broke the boys' hearts, because they didn't know, number one, what was going to happen to them. Were they going to go on to some other jail and be treated badly, or, what was going to happen for the duration of their time that was left. And so when he passed away, his wife requested, or I think he had requested, he said, if anything happens to me, because he was ill, he said, I want my boys to bury me. So the sheriff, knowing how the judge felt about those guys, took them up to the old cemetery on the side of the ridge behind the church up there, and provided them with shovels and pickaxes and everything they would need to dig him a good grave. And he pointed out the spot where they wanted the judge buried, and the boys set to work. And his wife, the judge's wife, had provided them with a good lunch for their hard working day. So the sheriff had brought that to them as well. And he just kicked back under a tree somewhere and took a nap, and then he had to go away on business, and he came back for a while. And while he was gone that second time, a big old storm blew up. It started coming, and the boys knew it was coming. They could see it off in the distance, and the sky got really brown and dark gray. clouds got real low and the wind started to blow. And it kept blowing and it kept blowing, and all of a sudden limbs are coming out of trees, and they're down there in that grave digging away. They've almost got it done. It's down probably 5 foot or more. And big, deep, wide hole. And so they're working and they're watching the sky, and all of a sudden things get a little more out of control on the weather front. Could have been a straight line wind, might have been a tornado, but whatever it was, started whipping those old trees around, those cedar trees and those old hardwoods. Limbs were falling, and everything was just getting really crazy. And so one of them said to the other two, said, we need to do something, we need to get out of here. This may be a tornado. And so they didn't know what to do at first, but then it crossed their minds, well, get in the grave. So they climbed down in the grave that they were digging for the judge. And that storm blew over, and it came through with a vengeance like a freight train. And when it was gone, there were trees laying down on top of the hole everywhere, and just a big old mess as far as they could see. And then all of a sudden the sheriff came back, because he thought, maybe coming up on some dead bodies up here in the old cemetery. But he got there, and he's calling, he doesn't see them, and he's calling out for them. And then he hears one of them go, here, boss, over here in this hole, in the grave. And it turned out that the judge had saved their lives more than once. He made sure that they stayed near their families in that jail. He made sure that he treated them well, and that they didn't really lack for anything, because they'd been poor as Job's house turkey before that. And he had saved them from many things. In fact, more crime. And finally, he saved their lives when he asked them to dig that grave. So here's a song I wrote with this, Grave Digger Song. It's just called the Grave Digger Song. It's self-explanatory. Dig that grave down 6 foot deep and hold that lantern high. The storm clouds cover up the moon and lightning fills the sky. Dig it deep and dig it wide, take you to the other side. Dig that grave down deep and wide, it might just save your life. The wind did blow, it howled and moaned, lightning flashed the sky. Dig that grave in deep and wide, it might just save your life. Dig that grave down 6 foot deep, it might just save your life. And there it is, story of the judge and the 3 boys and the Grave Digger Song. Have a good one.